MG cars are amazing because think about it, my friends. How can something be made of clay, a few sticks, some rope, a bit of bendy aluminium and still drive around? This is amazing. We live in amazing times. And today I'll tell you about my tire issues with MG and a couple of things which are not pitfalls, but they will look like obstacles on your quest to replacing your tire. So if you're new to this and you need to do even a little bit of DIY simply because roadside assist is too far away or you are in an inconvenient location, then hopefully this video is going to be both entertaining, emotional and helpful. Okay, so this wonderful construction, the rattle cage that is known as MG ZST 2021 model, that is not even falling apart due to kilometers. In case it's the first video somehow you're watching from me, we are at about 45,000 right now. We have another issue, and that's another wonderful little quiz for you before we continue, my friends. Let me entertain you. It's a nice sunny Sunday. How many times does an owner of aging MG vehicle need to go to a service center over, let's say, 12 months? Okay, before you answer, I'm going to count down, mark your answer, then I'll tell you the right answer, and you will see if you're right or wrong. Very, very simple. How many times? 3, 2, 1. Your answer? Okay, the right answer is as many times as is required, my friends, as many times as required. You will have to go to service center either for your tires or some other crap that broke in this tin can. All right, so my wife is a lovely woman who I basically don't deserve, and I'm punching so far above my weight it's not even funny, but she is driving like a maniac and this is her car. So I have replaced already 2 front tires in this MG, because it's not like my wife drives into solid obstacles in front of her, but the way she parks is as if she is Michael Schumacher and she is like trying to make the tightest turn and you know, in Formula 1 competition, and somehow she nicks these low profile tires that this vehicle by default is equipped with. Okay, and that results in all sorts of damage, especially if the damage is done to the side of the tire. This is the hardest damage to deal with, okay? Because if the damage is done through a puncture underneath, it is replaceable and it's relatively cheap. But if somebody nicks the tire on the side, especially if there is a low profile tire once again, and the vehicle is made of shit and bricks, then basically you will be replacing tires, yeah? And each replacement will cost you, for this kind of vehicle, for this tire size, about, I don't know, from about, I'm going to round up and say 210 Australian dollars per tire, to higher up if you go for higher, more costly tires. So I have already replaced 2 front tires, okay? But this time around I started seeing that the low tire pressure indicator that popped up for the rear left tire. That was happening for a couple of weeks, and I was like, okay, there must be some other micro tear or whatever it is. I pumped up the tires a couple of times, kind of observing that in normal use, interestingly enough, the leakage, so the loss of tire pressure, was at about 0.2 units of the tire pressure loss per day. Okay, so essentially, if you're cheap or if you're trying to save a little bit of money and somehow make this rattle cage last you rather than sell it, spend more money, buy another car, which we're trying to avoid right now, you basically will try to think, I'll just pump up the tires every week and this is how we're gonna make it to the sunset. Well, I had to fly interstate and I parked this car in the car park. Yes, I parked at the airport, and I came back yesterday and the rear tire was flat, completely flat. It should have lost just a bit of pressure, but this time around somehow it decided to give up on life entirely, which I'm not surprised because MGs are amazing vehicles and each unit of MG is not an exception. Yeah. What do I do? Well, obviously, as any normal person, you would replace the tire with the spare. Spare is located in the back, in the boot, obviously under the floor of the boot. There is a reasonably usable jack, funnily enough, not made of aluminium and clay. So I was able to install it, and I was able to lift the car to then try and unscrew the wheel, and therefore prepare the tire for replacement. First obstacle, like a quest obstacle to your goal, is going to be removal of plastic caps. Those plastic caps that are covering, just aesthetically, they're covering the bolts that are holding the wheel in place. That's the first thing that you will be confronted with. There is no easy way to reach them in that niche, and obviously the wrench is not going to help you. So the way I went about it, and this is the first tip from me, is pick a key in your keychain that is not particularly important, so no, preferably just for safety, it's not your main house key, okay? But one of the keys, let's say this key, okay? You take this key and you stick it between the plastic cap, the center of the plastic cap, and the edge of the hole where the bolt is, okay? You stick it there. Then you make a slight turn, not the full turn, or you will break the key. I'm not bearing responsibility for you breaking the key, so apply pressure smartly. But there is still, you plug it in, you turn it as if you're opening the door, and you pull it out like this. So basically this way you will be able to grab the plastic cap with the little things here, and it should grab it and it should pull it out, and that's how those plastic caps will come out and expose the bolts to you. That's the first pro tip. Okay, then what are you going to do then? Well, hopefully the car is already safely lifted, so you're going to put the wrench onto the bolt to try and unscrew it. But if it was serviced properly, these things would have been screwed in really tightly by machinery, so it's not really comfortable even for a man to try and apply force by hand and try and unscrew the thing. So of course it's a duh, and it's an obvious thing to all of you who have changed the tires, but a lot of you who are watching this might not be, so stop rolling your eyes there, expert person, and level with those who are not. What you do is you put the wrench in, you make sure that the hand is pointing the other way and it's all nice and safe, and you step on it. You just step on it, you kind of like kick it a little bit, okay? That should loosen the screw and that should open it. Is there, disclaimers, is there a slim chance that the car that's made of clay and sticks and a bit of rubber, that the bolt is gonna snap? Yeah, there is a chance, but it's a low chance because the bolt itself should be not made of aluminum or clay for that matter, and it should be okay. Wrench itself is also steel, so it's also not aluminum from what I can see, so it should also hold the kick. It should hold the kick and be okay. That loosens the bolt. You unscrew all the bolts evenly to make sure that the tire is not going sideways and makes it harder, so you kind of loosen all of them, then you take them fully off, then you take the tire off. If you are a little bit of a lightweight person, make sure that the weight of the wheel that you're taking off is close to your body, is not far away from you. Do not bend your back like that. Try and be as close and as vertical as you can be. That is occupational health and safety, to make sure that your back is not busted while you're lifting the tire off, okay? You lift it, you put it in place of the spare, you take the spare out, you screw it back on, off you go again into the Maryland. Next little problem, not a problem per se, it will not prevent you driving this rattle cage, but at the same time it's something to be aware of, is the tire pressure monitoring system, the TPMS. TPMS will start complaining that it cannot censor the pressure in the tires or temperature in the tires, and you will see it here on the dash. So to all of the other faults that your rattle cage will have, such as my currently still present engine fault notification that indicates the earlier problem that I talked to you about in another video, there will be another problem added to it. Well, don't panic, mate, because TPMS is supposed to reset itself after this has been fixed, after you've taken the car to a service center. I took it to my car, Tire and Auto at Macquarie Centre in Ryde, New South Wales, Sydney. Good boys. Again, saw me quickly enough. They'll be like, when I'm there for something else, the roof is gonna fall off. Next week, they'll be like, oh, yo, Dimitri, come in, mate. Discount for a regular client. By the way, in case I need to spell it out to you, naysayers and cynical people, they are not sponsoring this video. It's just local businesses that deserve my mention. For what it's worth, for the little that it's worth, I'm going to get that mention even without them sponsoring me. So, good boys, thanks very much for helping me out. that's it. Ignore the TPMS monitor. What is not great is that even after they fixed this problem with the tire, luckily I didn't have to replace the tire fully, so it was not a side cut. It was actually a puncture this time around. Phew! Thank God, only $49. That's nothing, right? So they fixed the puncture, they put the tire back on. But the TPMS, that bloody system, because the car is made, as I already said, of what? Clay and sticks. Yes, yes, good for you. Extra point. So the TPMS system did not reset itself. Even they said to me it should reset itself after a couple of kilometers of driving automatically, but it hasn't. So I drove from Macquarie back to Ryde here where I live, and it's close, but it's not like it's further away than 2 kilometers probably. So anyway, so that's what happened. I will keep you updated if these little ownership updates are not boring for you. The only way for you to tell me is through your likes and talking to me in the comments below. For what it's worth, hopefully it's practical, like I said, somewhat entertaining, and maybe insightful if you're planning to buy. If basically you belong to the masochistic society of Sydney, Australia, or wherever you are, then maybe MG is for you. Talk to me, I'll sell it to you, because amazing masochistic feeling is guaranteed. Basically, I can tell you, if you buy this car from me, mate, and I'll sell it to you cheap, okay, because, you know, we're friends, basically, then your masochistic self is going to be so pleased with this vehicle that, you know, you're welcome, basically you're welcome. So you kind of should pay me more, I think, personally, but that's okay, that's all right. So if you are ever planning to buy this crap, then essentially be aware, and little things help. Little things of knowing how to replace the tires, knowing why they put those inaccessible plastic caps that are hard to remove, knowing why TPMS system doesn't reset itself, and not losing your shit over, you know, that problem again staring you in the face, and you're like, what now? What now? Hopefully all of that adds up to something positive to you. As you can see, I am not raging. I'm actually very happy, and happy to share on the top of emotion with you, as long as there is anyone who appreciates these videos. And I don't have a crystal ball. If people drift off on views on these kind of videos and don't say anything, whatever, then I move on to other content trying to offer you something different. If you like this kind of stuff, man, oh man, there is a lot to say about this. Anyway, thanks for watching. As always, stay tuned for more videos from Value Cars Australia, me, Dimitri. And next week we're going to talk about something else, Value Cars Australia related, Value Cars related in Australia, beyond. Perhaps we are long overdue for some nice review of some kind of Russian torture of some better vehicles such as Tank 300, or maybe even BAU 212. Haven't heard much about BAU 212 lately, but let's see how we go. Again, for the last time, thank you for watching and being part of this class, educating you on how to drive a shitbox in Australia, and goodbye for now. See you later.